I cannot stand the exhaust I built for this truck. It flows pretty good, sounds pretty good from the outside, but inside, there's only one word to describe it, and that's drone. And this is the 5th version that I've built. So today, I'm gonna do what the aftermarket couldn't. I'm gonna build my own exhaust and fix this drone problem for good. Every exhaust that I've tried has the same issue. If it's loud enough on the outside, you just can't live with it on the inside. Or if it's quiet enough on the inside, it's just not very exciting from the outside. Now, unfortunately, this is just a trade-off, and most people accept it, but I'm not willing to. The bottom line is this: we like the volume, the drone, we can't stand. When most people want to put an exhaust on a truck like this, they'll just pick out a catback from their favorite aftermarket brand, bolt it on, and head on down the road. And that's where we started, but then we made 4 additional changes until we wound up with the system that we currently have. A 3.5-inch factory resonator feeding into a Flowmaster Pro Series, which then feeds into a Borla resonator. Now, none of the combination of parts that we were able to put together were able to meet all 3 of the goals that I have for any exhaust. Number 1, no drone. Number 2, a unique sound. And number 3, a system that'll support the power level that we're at currently, as well as the future goals that we have for when we add a supercharger. So this is the parts combination that I'm going to be using to build the exhaust that meets all of my requirements. And it starts with this factory mid pipe. Now, I'm actually not going to be using the muffler because that reduces down from 3.5 to 3 where it enters and exits the muffler. But all I really need is this short section of pipe because it has a good diameter, a factory hanger, and the correct offset that we need to enter into this guy right here, the LMM Duramax muffler. Now, I actually ran this on the twin turbo drag truck for a little while before we twin turboed it, and I really like the sound that it produces. And it has a fairly compact size, so it's gonna work. But the best part is it has a full 4-inch inlet and outlet. And for the tailpipe, instead of reducing down to 3 or 3.5 like the truck currently has, we're gonna keep it a full 4-inch all the way to the bumper. This is a aftermarket stainless tailpipe for I think a 7.3 Power Stroke, which doesn't really matter. I figured it had kind of the right size and shape to do what we wanted. So we're gonna get started by cleaning up the muffler and getting rid of the attachment points from where we had it in the 03. And then we're gonna build our own custom exhaust. So I realize that most people who are going to be watching this might not tackle building their own custom exhaust, but there's a few takeaways that we can learn from, all the different systems that I've built over the years. Number 1, the design of the muffler that you use is going to have a huge impact on the overall sound. Straight through mufflers generally have what I would consider a little bit less character in their sound. I don't want to say boring, but kinda. But they also have the most power potential, which is especially important in a forced induction application like a twin turbo. A chambered muffler, on the other hand, it has a little bit more character, and whether it's a Flowmaster or a Black Widow or an OEM muffler, there's a huge range of sound differences that you can get with a chambered muffler, and oftentimes you get a reduction in drone. Now, the size of piping that you use also has a huge impact on the volume and drone in the system. 3.5-inch and 4-inch pipe is going to drone way more than, say, 2.5 or 3. But again, the trade-off is power potential. If you have a 6 or 7 or 8 or a 900 horsepower build, you're going to have to run a larger diameter pipe and just find a way to deal with the drone, which is kind of what we're doing right now. So you might think I'm crazy using diesel parts on a gas truck, but this larger 4-inch system is going to give us the flow that we want without all the annoying sounds. And with the two systems laid out side by side, I'm actually really happy with how things are working. I was kind of wondering if I'd have to do a bunch of surgery to this tailpipe to clock and twist it to get it to fit. but just right out of the gate, it looks pretty dang close.
And spoiler alert, the tailpipe actually takes a ton of time to get to fit properly.
I did also cut the hangers off of the original tailpipe because, as you can see, the aftermarket one doesn't have any yet, but these go on either side right behind the muffler, and then finally that one goes right towards the back like that. So a little bit more welding and we will have ourselves the perfect exhaust. You know, I don't know if it's true or not, but I have had a few people tell me that these flex pipes in here will actually counteract resonance also, just because they kind of stop any vibration from transferring from the front half to the back half of the system. Now, if you've seen me work before, you know that I love building custom exhausts. It's kind of like my signature on the build, and each one I like to do just a little bit differently than the last. But one thing that they all have in common is I will not MIG weld an exhaust. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. In fact, if you go to muffler shop, 99% of the time, they're gonna use a MIG welder to weld your exhaust up. But to me, a TIG weld, it looks so much better than a MIG weld process, but the trade-off is definitely the time. It's not 2 times, it's not 3 times, it's probably 4 to 5 times longer to TIG weld an exhaust than it would be to MIG, especially on a large diameter pipe like we're working here with. But like my wife says, I'm picky, and I mean, the results don't lie. I think a TIG weld exhaust, it looks a million times better. I think it'll sound pretty good once I do like headers and stuff. That's weird, that kind of makes it. Helps finish it out. Definitely think it won't drone anymore. So after I did that first sound test, started the truck up and stood underneath and listened to that big 4-inch LMM muffler, I was a little bit nervous that it was going to be way too quiet, which if I had to pick, I would maybe choose way too quiet over way too loud. That's maybe just my old age at this point, but we're really going for the Goldilocks zone. I want an exhaust system that is perfect, not too loud, not too quiet. So that first start had me a little bit nervous, but when I put the little tailpipe section on, just stuck it in with the truck idling, it was the weirdest thing because the exhaust almost got a little louder. Now the tone definitely changed as well, and I don't know why, because literally all we did was stick an extension on the back of the muffler. It didn't change the diameter, it just added a little bit of extra length, but with the tailpipe on, it sounded way better, and it kind of flipped the script for me, and it made me realize that I think we're headed in the right direction. Of course, we won't know for sure until we test drive it, but I think we're onto the right track here. When I had this muffler on the 03 drag truck, I really love the tone, especially since that truck has a nice cam in it, and someday the Sierra will too. So that took way more time than I care to admit, but we now have an exhaust that I am really proud to show off. It fits awesome. Oop, dropped my light. And the best part is it looks stock, which that's a compliment to me anyway, is to build something that looks like factory but performs so much better. Remember, the original system that we started with, or the factory system, I mean, started at 3.5, reduced down to 3, and was way too quiet. We tried a bunch of systems in between that were too loud and droned, but now this is what we are left with. Factory 3.5 into a 4-inch muffler and a 4-inch tailpipe all the way out the back. And this took by far the most time, but like I said, it fits like factory. We have clearance around the spare tire. It's tighter than stock, but we got room between the body. If I ever do a lowering kit that has the shackle reverse back here, I made sure to leave room for that. Very, very happy. And then in the future, whenever we do headers and stuff, all I'm gonna do is cut right here and then just build a 4-inch pipe from there to a Y pipe where it comes out of the header. So we're done. But the $1 million question is, was it worth it? And is it gonna sound like we think it's gonna sound? I like that a lot. Let's get outside and do some revs. So as we get onto the highway, take a listen. It's like quiet when you're cruising, but when you get on it, slow car, it gets loud when you get on it, which is like exactly what you want from a performance exhaust. You want to be able to cruise, like, let me get up to speed here. You want to be able to cruise with no drone. But then when you get on it, you want the noise. It's perfect. So this stretch of road right here, this is where it would drone the worst because it's just a slide uphill as we go towards the house. Fun fact, I actually gain about 1,000 feet of elevation from the shop to the house. So it's like when I go to work, we're going downhill, so it's quieter. But when we go home, you're going uphill, so it's a little bit louder. But we're so much better than we were before. I did use one of those little audio analyzers. Previously, we had the drone was worse at 117 hertz, and I don't remember what the dB level was, but it was annoying. Where right now, I'm gonna kind of get over here, get on my exit. Right now, I just did the little recording again with the spectrum analyzer. That's a BMW over there. That's not my exhaust. And probably one of the worst sounding cars for an inline six. Anyway, I did the recording and it widened out that peak. So it still is 117 hertz. That's the loudest or the most prominent tone. But the little octaves on either side, it seemed to flatten that curve. So it's not quite as peaky, I guess. I don't know. That's the science for you anyway. All right, we're gonna do a windows up little rip here and see what we think. There's that 1-2 delay again. I like it though. Oh, there's a Duramax back there. I was wondering what was whistling. Well, I gotta say, I believe we have nailed the exhaust, and this is the system that's going to be on the truck forever. Hopefully. As far as the perfect volume goes, everybody's tastes are different, but let's say the perfect level is like right here. The other two systems, or the other 5 systems rather, were like here and here and here. But then when we add the headers and the high flow cats, the volume is gonna get even louder, where right now, we're like 1/2 of a tick below perfect. So when we put the headers on with the high flow cats, it's gonna be 1,000,000% perfect. I love the sound. I love that there's no drone. A lot of work, but very, very happy. As far as what is next for the Sierra, We got a few things already in the works. I've got a flex fuel sensor. We're going to tune it. And then probably a little while later, we're going to be doing, like we said, the cam, the headers, and all that good stuff. I still want to do eventually a 6.6 with a supercharger, but realistically, I need to get the twin turbo truck done before we really tear into the Sierra, because I need to probably be daily driving this one, and right now it's torn apart. You may be wondering, why have we not made any progress on this truck lately? And right now, the big holdup, or the reason why I'm not working on it, is an intercooler. I have a very particular intercooler that I want to run. It's from Treadstone, but they've been on back order forever. And they have a little bit thinner one that they have in stock right now. I don't want to run that. So short version is I'm just patiently waiting. I have done a few little odds and ends behind the scenes, but really I haven't touched anything under here since you guys saw me fire it up for the first time. I did get my exhaust, or most of it. Got a builder's kit under there, and this, I figured I'd show you. Check out the size of that X-pipe, guys. The exhaust system on the twin turbo truck, it's gonna have mufflers, but I want it to be a little bit on the louder side, but it's going to be truly equal length and symmetrical. So I'm not gonna do one of those big old loops or anything like that. And it's gonna be able to support the power goals that we have for this, or at least in the interim. Like I said, I'm probably gonna do a hood stack, like race mode, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Come back soon. So that's pretty much the episode, but this is the part where I do some frequently asked questions and go over some technical info that doesn't really fit into the main storyline of the video. So it's like the after show sort of thing. So let's jump right in. The number one question that you guys are probably going to ask is, why not use a quarter wave resonator? Excellent question, and the reason is simple, because I like changing up exhaust systems. I really wanted to try the LMM muffler on the 6.2 after hearing it on the 03 with the 6.2 LS. And a quarter wave resonator, I did one a couple years ago on the orange LSA supercharged Copo truck, and that one we had two high flow cats, we had a Y pipe, we had two flex joints, we had a quarter wave resonator, we had a MagnaFlow before the axle and another MagnaFlow after the axle. And the quarter wave resonator was extremely effective at killing drone at an extremely narrow RPM range. So that's kind of, again, trade-off. That's what exhaust is all about. Quarter wave resonators are very effective, but you have to tune them. The length has to be very specific, and it works, but only at a very narrow RPM range. So yeah, my main objective of this system was to kill drone, but the secondary objective was just trying something different. So now that we have the sound exactly, or almost exactly where we want it, maybe we will add a quarter wave resonator, or we'll try building a Helmholtz chamber. But anyway, that's where we're at now. After driving the system for, well, I drove it home. That's really all that we have on it right now, because I finished welding Saturday afternoon. It's now Saturday night that I'm editing. But yes, I still like the system. I don't have the desire to go out and change it right away. Second question, or note I was going to make, not a question per se. The camera mics, like I use a GoPro with an external mic. I have a lav mic like this for talking to the camera. I'll sometimes use it to record audio of the truck. I have the iPhone. Every single camera and microphone combo, it makes the truck sound different. I have no idea why. The revs in the parking lot were filmed on a GoPro with an external mic, and that's honestly the worst sound quality out of all of them. It kind of sounds like the truck sounds, but also it's kind of far off. It sounds way better in person, so I'm excited about it. The final question or point that I was going to make, maybe you guys are wondering, maybe not, welder setup. That's sometimes useful information. We're TIG welding, of course. Depending on the thickness of the material, I'll usually set the machine to somewhere around 75 to 80 amps. I won't use the full pedal. I'll have 5.5 to 6 seconds of post flow. I don't usually back purge the stuff unless it's like a manifold or something before a turbocharger. You should back purge everything, but take that for what it's worth. I don't use any sort of pulse settings on the welder. My machine will do it. I just straight weld. Other than that, the volume reduction. I made a little footnote in the video when it was playing, but We basically took 4 dB out of the drone. It still was at the 117 hertz. That's still the loudest frequency, but it's 4 dB quieter, which is definitely noticeable. It's still there if we're being honest, but it's much more bearable to live with every single day. So I'm still going to call this exhaust system a success. Thank you guys for watching the after show.